Hi there, my name is Aaron Short. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is Monday again, March 25th, 2024. Hope everyone's doing well. Back to the usual time, 4 p.m. EST. Last week I went on early, which confused people. The week before that I went on when the clocks had changed. That also confused people. So I'm glad to be back to the regular time, 4 p.m. EST. And thank you for joining me. Let me know if you've got any questions or comments for this week. Nick Johnson says, hi. Good to see you, Nick. And Patsy says, I remember this week about the clocks changing. Wondered what was going on last week. Next week, we'll be catching up normal time. I think you mean 2 weeks ago. The clocks changed 2 weeks ago. But that's good to know that in England, the clocks are changing as well next week. Okay, so it's still a weird time in England. But next week, back to the old time. It's just so confusing. I wish they wouldn't change the clocks like that. But there we go. Bernard says hi from Suffolk to everyone. And Mad for It says hi to all from the UK. It's Graham. And Rosanna's moderating. Thanks, Rosanna. Good evening, Aaron. Everyone in the chat. Happy Monday. Awesome. I'll start. I've got a nice, relaxing session today. Last week I was in a rush. I was doing that gig. It was very good. Very good gig. It was fun. And question from Dr. McFarland. Expensive guitar and cheap amp, or cheap guitar and expensive amp? Why not expensive guitar and expensive amp? What's wrong with that? Okay, I'll come to that. That's a good question. I want to start with the update about that bag I was talking about last week. I got the bag from Amazon. $30, basically the same as the mono bag that I'm using. The mono bag I've been using was very expensive, but very well made. I don't begrudge it. All this stuff is a deduction on our taxes, right? It served me very well. $300. I'll just show it to you. Served me very well. Much better bag than the one I just got. But the one I just got from Amazon was $30. But for example, when I put the new one on the floor, I hear the pedal hitting the floor. I need to put some padding under that at the bottom. This bag you're looking at is very padded. So it is the better option if you're driving or you don't mind the extra weight. But this bag is around 3 pounds heavier than the bag I just got. So for anyone interested in last week's conversations follow-up, I have managed to save. So that bag started at 20. This bag with everything in it started at 23, maybe 25 pounds with the electric rig in there as well for my dual pickup system. Taking that stuff out, got it down to 23. Getting the new bag, took it down to 20. Taking out the stuff I don't absolutely need for each gig brings it down to around about 17. I think I even took out some things I wasn't using at all. I think I've now got it down to about 15 pounds. And I've also ordered the thinner XLR cables. They should be here this week. So I'm hoping the bag will come down to about 13 pounds. And that 10 pound difference makes a huge difference, of course. You know, now I can carry it to the train in one arm and not have to keep switching arms, which means I can now carry a speaker in the left hand, like a 15 pound speaker as well. And I'm just not as miserable when I get to my gig. You know, I'm not thinking, wow, I just carried 23 pounds and I've been struggling. I will say I made a joke to the staff at one of my gigs. And I said, I realized though, it's still not easy. I realized the problem isn't the bag, the problem is me. I could probably do to lose about 30 pounds myself, and that'll be a lot easier to walk to the train. But that's funny, and there's also a lot of truth in that as well. But obviously, the lighter you can get the gear, the better. The lighter the stuff you carry, the better. I mean, I could get a lighter guitar. I could find a guitar that's a pound lighter. I mean, it all helps. I'm not willing to play a different guitar just to save a pound in weight. But it is silly to take equipment to the gig you don't need. Now, I do miss having backups of everything. And if you're driving and you've got gear that sometimes is unreliable, of course you want to take backups. So I am risking things a little bit by not taking the spare microphone. Having said that, I know that worst come to the worst, there is a microphone at the venue I could use if I had to. So I may add a few things back because I've saved a lot of weight that I'm carrying. I may add a few things back, but I'm just doing this as an experiment right now to see how light I can get it. So basically, I've gone from about 23 to 15. That's very, very noticeable. It also made me realize maybe this bag was a mistake. Maybe spending $300 on a bag that you can get for Amazon for 30 Maybe I should have got that one in the first place in hindsight. But I still say, a bit like Dr. McFarlane is talking about gear and cheap versus expensive. The fact of the matter is sometimes we don't need, using these two bags as examples, a $30 bag versus a $300 bag. The $30 bag does everything the $300 bag does. The only thing is, it's not as protective. So what if your gear over time gets more damaged or does get damaged? And also, what if every year I have to replace that bag and in 10 years it will be $300 anyway? On the other hand, that bag might last 10 years and the mono bag might need to be replaced in 3 years. We don't know. But I definitely am not against the higher end stuff, and I'll always go for that when I can. But I wish they'd make a $300 bag that was as light as the Amazon bag. Then I would pay the money, because that's what I want. I want lightweight, well-made stuff. So just something to consider. But it has been successful. I am much happier now traveling on the train. I can take more stuff with me. I can do everything in one trip, and I'm just a little bit happier now when I arrive than I was before, because before I was pretty tired from carrying and frustrated from switching arms and all this. So it's good. It was successful. The only thing left to report on with this is the cables. Will those new cables be good? They should be. They're Megami thinner cable. I also went for 15 foot over 25 foot because I realized that a 25 foot full size cable is going to be substantially heavier than a 15 foot half size cable. So the 3 cables alone may save me another pound or two. Who knows? This all sounds very overly analytical, but this stuff matters when you are in the situation I'm in, when you're walking to a train and you're carrying stuff. Every bit of weight matters, especially when you're doing it 3 times a week, 4 times a week over multiple years. It all adds up, and it does matter. Of course, if you're driving, it still matters, but not as much, I'd say. So thanks for the input on that. And the yeah, once again, some of that Amazon stuff is definitely worth checking out. It's never as well made as the high-end stuff like the mono, but you get what you pay for. And sometimes the cheaper stuff is lighter, and I think that's better. Gary's in Arizona. Michael, how often do you... That's a great question about set lists. Okay, I'm going to talk about that. Put your cables at the bottom of the pedal. No, the pedal goes at the back compartment, so it's by itself. So I need to just put some bubble wrap at the base, so it's sitting on. Because sometimes I'll throw the bag down, put the bag down on the concrete, and you'll hear the pedal hitting the floor. So I need to put a layer of bubble wrap in the bottom of the bag, and then when I put the bag down, it won't hit the floor. Basically, I'm putting the pedal in the laptop compartment by itself. All right then. So expensive guitar and cheap amp or cheap. I mean, I hate this question. People ask this question on every YouTube channel. So no offense, Dr. McFarlane, but this is just that YouTube question that everyone asks. And I feel like it's trying to catch us out somehow. Because, I mean, let's think about this. The amplifier is what you... And put in the comments what you think about this too. Now, what do I know? But the amplifier is what you're listening to, not the guitar. So therefore, I'd say expensive amplifier. Now, that's assuming that all expensive amplifiers sound better than cheaper amplifiers, which isn't always the case. Sometimes the really expensive amplifiers are very boutique and voiced a certain way, and you won't like them. And you might prefer just a standard affordable amplifier, like a affordable Fender. So that's the thing, though. That's the object that you're listening to. If you're playing in this room, you're not hearing the guitar. You're hearing the amp. And this is why I also translate this into acoustic guitars, too. So many people want to buy a $10,000 acoustic to play at their shows and then look for a way to put a pickup in it. And they don't understand that they're not hearing the guitar sometimes at all. They're hearing the pickup through the PA system. So that's really, really important to remember that. So I'd say based on that logic, the amplifier is the most important thing. And you should spend the money on getting the right amplifier for you. Having said that, You don't hold the amplifier when you're playing. You hold the guitar. You feel the guitar. And we always talk about feel and how feel is important when you're a musician, not to the audience. The audience don't feel your guitar. I won't let them feel my guitar. But they'll hear the amp, but they'll hear you. You're creating what's coming out of the amp, so you've got to be happy. And that's why you need to get a very good guitar that or a guitar that you like. And that may be more money, it may not be. Some expensive guitars feel bad. Some cheap guitars feel good. Some expensive guitars sound good to me. Some expensive guitars sound bad to me. So I really think that's why I think they're really both as important as each other. That you can't have one without the other. And it doesn't necessarily mean expensive. Like I just said about the bag, I'll always go for expensive when I can. That's just how I am. And I'm honest about that. But in the situation I'm in today, the cheaper Amazon bag, and someone wants a link. I'm going to find a link for you. The cheaper Amazon bag works better. So there you go. So I could have saved myself $270. But I didn't know that without trying it. And I'm not knocking the mono bag. I still say it's the better bag. So same thing with the guitar. I might have a cheaper guitar that I like more. Doesn't mean the expensive one isn't worth it to someone. It's just that I happen to like the cheaper one more. Does that make sense? So that's why I just think this question is so hard to answer. Why is that coming up? Okay. I'm just going to grab this link for you for the bag that you want to see. I'm not going to show you my order history because it's dish soap, cat food, scotch tape to box up guitars with, and batteries. I change my battery every month now. I don't need to, but I just do it anyway, just out of habit. I just never want to be caught out with a bad battery in a guitar. I did buy some neoprene luggage handle wraps to go. The bag has a good handle from Amazon, but the handle is no way as comfortable as the mono, of course. So I bought the wraps that go around the handle to improve the feel of it. And that really fixed that well. Just going to drop this link in the chat. In fact, right now it's only $25. It's crazy. Wow. $25. There really is some good deals out there. Get link. Hang on. Yes, it's my affiliate link. I only get those when I generate them from Amazon. Here we go. That's the bag, and I'm also while we're here, and I've already wasting time here, I'm going to show you the handles as well. Now these handles are great for anyone actually, even if you are whatever bag you have, you should consider getting some of these because they really just add another level of comfort to what you're carrying. I've used these on several cases and bags over the years. They always are excellent. Check these out. They're just a neoprene sleeve that goes over the existing handle and velcros, and then you pick that up, right? So you get an extra layer of comfort when you pick up the bag. So the first one is the bag, which is only $25, which is amazing. And the second one here is the neoprene handle covers. So check those links out. And just remember, the bag I'm showing you is basically just a laptop backpack. But I find it works well for the cables. It's got a lot of space in there. There's a bigger version as well. There's a lot of space, lots of compartments. It feels sturdy. Now, how long will it last me? I'll let you know. Ask me in 6 months. I'll let you know if it's still working. But at $25, honestly, I don't mind just buying another one. You know, for $25, I don't mind just buying another one and replacing it. Let me see here. Gary said he doesn't see it. Yeah, there we go. Click on that first link, Gary. That's it there. It's very nice. Yeah. Again, I don't know how long it's going to last for, so don't complain to me if you buy one that breaks. You'd have to come back in 6 months for me to tell you that. But, I mean, you can't really go wrong at $25, especially when you just bought one that was several hundred. And then the handles I'll put on the second link. So check those out. Awesome. All right, so I'm happy. I'm happy that I've saved that weight. And going forward, that's definitely a consideration for me with anything that I buy, because I am traveling on the public transport. We're getting this thing in New York soon where they're going to charge, like in London. When I left London, there was a congestion charge. There's going to be a congestion charge in New York. And so obviously I want to avoid paying that extra money as well, because that's more money out of my pocket. And I don't want to get into politics. I do have opinions on these things. I don't really want to get into that on the music chat, but there is another expense. Okay, so it just makes more sense for me to take the train. And I covered a gig last Wednesday where I actually, they didn't want me to take an amp at all. They wanted me to plug into the wall. And it was like a mini headphone jack input. So I ordered a cable that was an XLR to a mini headphone jack, and it sounded great. I took another mixer as a backup in case it didn't work. I almost took the amp in case it didn't work, but it was absolutely incredible. I'll tell you this, to walk in there with that bag that now weighs 15 pounds, the guitar on my back and the mic stand across my shoulder, and to walk in there with that rig and plug in to their system with my in-ears and play a gig was absolutely incredible. So it's not as fun as playing through a full-size PA system, but the fact that I can do that and make money is great. And I think it is the future, for better or worse. A bit like tube amps are going, we're having more digital stuff. It's just a fact of life. We're getting more silent stages. Bands are using in-ears and using array systems at concerts. It's just the way the world is going. And yes, we're going to miss having those loud rock bands on stage. There's something about that that's different. But it's so much easier for bands to tour with the in-ear system than it is to take amps with them. And there's a bit that also translate to the solo musician or the duo as well. It's a lot easier to travel to a gig without a PA system and with in-ear monitors and to plug into their house system than it is to take a PA system with floor monitors, subwoofers, tops, mixing console, all this stuff, right? Now, you might need some of that stuff. I'm not saying you can eradicate all of that, especially for a duo, but it's just a lot easier to travel light. Obviously. Not always as much fun in the long term, but it's just easier. And I was just thinking to myself last week, most of my gigs now are in-ear monitors. The restaurant I play is well, they have a speaker, but it's out the front, so it's just for the people in the bar. I don't really hear it. So that's in-ear monitors. My Friday, they want it through the whole system. That's in-ear monitors. And then this last Wednesday, that was in-ear monitors. Yesterday, I didn't wear them. I wanted to talk to people, have more, not be so isolated, but I could have used them. That was kind of either or, really. And then the only one that wasn't was last Monday. I didn't wear them because I had guest singers with me. They were doing like a team building thing where people would sing a song with me. So I wanted to make sure I could really hear them and communicate with them. So I didn't. But the sound in that room was so terrible. I took the Everse 8 and I didn't like the sound at all. But that wasn't necessarily the Everse 8. That was the room. Sometimes a room sounds crap. It's the room. Your speaker can't be in the perfect position. The room is not right. The acoustics are terrible, and where you're standing isn't optimal, and it just sounds bad. That just is a fact of life. And normally, then I just say, okay, fine, put the in-ears in, and I'm good. Because the people don't really. No one ever comes over and says, "Oh, it sounds boomy," or "It doesn't sound right." But the musician will really tell that when it doesn't sound right. You can't really get into it, and that's why I then would just I do my best to get the best sound I could, and then I would throw in the in-ear monitors and do the gig with them. But as I had people with me, I wanted to have them out so I could talk to them and communicate with them. But I'd say 75% of the gigs right now are in-ear monitors. All right, Michael says, how often do you rotate your set list? So great question about set lists from Michael. Michael, I don't use set lists anymore. I haven't used them for years. I'll use them for... Like when I used to do original gigs, I'd use them, obviously. A wedding band, whenever I do that, I'll use them. Mainly because the people I'm playing with don't know the songs like I do. So I will make a set list. I'll say, right, here's the 30 songs or the 10 songs or whatever. Learn them as the recording, and we're going to play them as the recording in this order. When I'm playing alone, I don't do that because I've done so many thousands of gigs at this point. that I just know. I mean, it's good and bad. I kind of have songs that I'll start with. I know it's a great to start with something like Layla because it's not too slow. Everyone knows it. It's low in your range. You can warm up the voice and sing that song, then move into something a bit more challenging, and then work your way up to the songs that are more challenging and give your voice a chance to wake up. Okay. So, having said that, the dangers of that is that you can end up always starting with Layla and always finishing with American Pie. And that can be dangerous, especially when you're playing the same place every week, multiple times a week, because not so much the audience tends to be different, but the people that work at a venue, you don't want them to get bored of you. That's really important. So a couple of years ago, a guy at a venue said to me, oh, corporate came in and said, you always do the same songs. And I said, well, no, I don't. But I guess you've got a point. I always end the first set with Country Roads. It just seems to work. The danger with that is someone will come in and hear that and say, oh, he always does the same set. No, I don't. It's just I always have that song at that point. It just works at that gig. So I did think about that, and it did make me learn more songs. So after that, I learned a bunch of new songs. I do occasionally now throw new songs in. It's very important to do that. And I still finish the set with Country Roads, though it just works at that venue. So I'm not against set lists, and I think it's good to have them to break out of a mold. I also think when you're starting out, it's very important to have them because you don't want to stand there thinking about what the next song is going to be. But people like Tommy Emmanuel will tell you they do so many gigs, they've done so many gigs, that they just have a song they'll start off with, and then they just go with what comes naturally. There's something nice about that too. Just to go with how you feel on the night and how you feel the room is. I always tell that to people, even for like birthday parties and things. Like they'll say, well, what songs do you do? And I'll always say, I do have a set list and I'll send you my list of songs. But the thing about me is I tend to read the room. I think it's really important. So if you play a country song and people are enjoying the country song, play more country songs, right? If you see a certain... It's not good to judge people. If you see a certain age group, you might assume they like a certain style. That isn't always true. Of course, that's not true at all. But you definitely have to be aware of these things, especially like what's working and what isn't, right? If you see a song isn't going down very well, you're not going to play more songs like that. If you see a song is working well, you'll play more songs like that. But then you won't just play those songs the rest of the night because you might do too many of those songs and people get sick of that too. It's really... There's a really real skill to like knowing what songs to play, and some nights it just doesn't seem to work. Whatever you do, so yeah, I think over time the set list forms in your brain, and I think that's great. I also think you've got to be aware that you mustn't become stale and always do the same order and always do the same songs. I think it's very important to add a song a week or two, or certainly a new song a month. And especially when you're playing the same places over and over again. Like I said, not so much for the audience, but more for the people. You don't want the people that work there to get bored of you because they're the ones who are going to tell management to get rid of you, right? So that's, I have a unique, maybe I have a unique situation with what I do, but that's my thoughts on it. And please, Gary and performers out there, let me know what you think about that. I'm curious. But yeah, I do think it's important to rotate the songs. Definitely. Don't, especially if you play somewhere all the time. They're going to get very used. I wouldn't say they get bored of you, but they'll get used to what you do. And I don't think that's good. Because I know I've been to see people locally that do the same songs and I get bored. And that made me realize as well, I can't afford to be like that. Doesn't matter how good you are. People don't want to see the same set list every week. They're going to get bored of it. So Aries bought a lighter mic stand to go like a shorter mic stand. So I can't do that because I'm 6'5". So that really messes me up. Like I need the mic stand to be tall. But I did buy a cheaper mic stand, which again happened to be lighter. Well, there's a YouTube video here, isn't there? Sometimes cheaper is better. Because again, you see, companies don't make $1,000 mic stand that weighs half a pound. If they did, I'd probably buy it because that's the kind of gear that I want. I want something that weighs half a pound that is as sturdy as a mic stand that weighs 10 pounds. Of course, that's not physically possible. And of course, the heavier stands tend to cost more than the light ones. The light stands are usually light because they're cheaper, made from cheaper materials. Therefore, they're cheaper. But I'm a very unique kind of customer that wants something very well made, very high end, very innovative, very expensive, but weighs half a pound. But they wouldn't sell it. Even if they could develop that product, they wouldn't sell any, would they? Who's going to buy that apart from me? Okay, John, I put the link in the chat. What strings are you liking right now? Great question. So, I do find occasionally that guitars like certain strings, and I do tend to use Martin strings on Martin guitars. Some Martins like other strings and some don't. Same with all guitars, but the strings that I'm using pretty much exclusively now are the D'Addario XS. And the reason is I like how they feel, I like how long they last. They are the most expensive. They're about $20 a set. They're very expensive. But they last me. And because I'm playing a lot, what I tend to do lately is change string. I'm trying to change strings and battery on the first of the month. That's what I'm trying to do. Having said that, these strings seem to last a long time. I have a feeling I could run these for at least 2 months, if not 3. And if I wasn't gigging, they might even last me 6 months to a year. They're really, really great. I like how they feel. I like how they sound. You know, I'm not big into experimenting with different strings and things like that. But I did try these on a Martin a few months ago, and I didn't like the sound at all. I don't. That's not a guitar that I own right now, but the Martin strings sounded way better. These gave it kind of a scooped mid, a kind of soft sound that I didn't think worked with that guitar. I do have these on the Rain Song, on the other Martins, and they're absolutely fine. So I'd say 99% of guitars, I like these strings. And again, they are the most expensive. You can shop around and try and get the best price possible for sure, because at $20 a set, they ain't cheap. But like I said, if you play casually, I think a set of and you like these, I think a set of these could last you a year. And that's great value. I only change once a month because I'm scared of breaking a string at a gig. I think I was running these for 3 months at one time. And I broke a string a couple of times. But 3 months when you gig a lot is very impressive. And they didn't lose much of their tone either. I think they're great. So now, just as a matter of habit, just as a matter of course, I've started to change on my main gigging guitar. I'll change the strings on the first of the month, new battery, new strings, just to be 100% safe and not have to even think about that. And again, I do carry spare strings, but as I'm not carrying a spare guitar and all that stuff, I just don't want to worry about it. I don't want to have to stop the performance to change the battery and change the string. I just don't want to have to deal with it. So, if you haven't tried these, I recommend you do. I just ordered a set of these and the XT and the regular to do a comparison video with. I'm not sure if I'll do it or not, but I ordered them. But these are the ones that I'm just really love. The XS, and I'm running 12 gauge. I do have more problems late with intonation. I've said this before, but I think that's more due to the action. Like on one of my guitars, I've tightened the truss rod a lot to make the action feel lower, which does work, but it also messes up your neck. Your neck is no longer straight with a slight bow. It's now very bowed, and that seems to mess up the intonation. So I need to have that looked at. That's not how you're supposed to adjust your action. It does work, but it doesn't work the way it should do. What you should do is lower your saddle and keep the neck straight with a slight bow in it, very slight. And then you can also look at the intonation there at the saddle as well. So for a while, I thought these strings were messing up my intonation, but I don't think they were. I think it's just your guitar has to be set up right. I don't know. I had a few sets of these last year, if you watched the channel, where I was complaining about them, and then I didn't have it again. So I guess any time with strings, you can get a bad set. Bear that in mind as well. And they do 10s, 12-string 10s, 11s, 12s, a light top with a medium bottom, 13s, and 16s. That's for a resonator guitar. I like the 12s. I I'd consider going to 11. But I just always, I don't know, I like 12s. Always have done. But 11s could be worth trying, experimenting with as well. So Gary says, I'm a firm believer in getting the source right first, the guitar. You will upgrade the amp later and it will not be as big of a deal. Well, like I said in my answer, Gary, I really feel strong about both. I agree that the source is important. It's a bit like if you're going to have a singer on your album. You're going to find the singer, you can have a bunch of singers sing in your studio without a mic and find the voice that you like the tone of the best, right? And then you're going to mic them up for the album. So the source is really important. Having said that, you're going to hear the amplifier. A bit like with the singer on the album, you're going to hear them through the microphone. So then the microphone becomes important because their voice through an iPhone microphone will sound different to their voice through a U87. So I think they're both kind of equal. I think, if I had to choose one, I might choose the source as well, based on what I just said, but I really think they're both important. You know, it's like buying an expensive audio interface and then plug in a cheap cable that sounds terrible. You just wouldn't do it, right? You need both things to be equal. You're only as good as the weakest part, as they say. So, what do you think about using the JJB Prestige 330 passive pickup with the new Sonic 8 preamp? Well, I haven't tried it, so I don't want to say too much, but JJB Prestige 330. Let me just see that. JJB Prestige 330. Is that like a K&K, right? So, oh, they have this on Sweetwater, yeah. $50, yeah. Who makes that? It's the same as Journey Tech, right? Journey Tech. Pickup. Let me see. Journey pickup. I can't find it now. I showed it to you last week or two. Here we go. Yeah, I think this is the same pickup, maybe rebranded. I'm not sure. So this with the Sonic 8. Without trying it, it's really hard to know. The Sonic 8 should do a good job. The impedance is on the high end for a passive pickup. It might have a lot of low end, and there's no high pass filter on it. So it might have too much low end. I don't know. Again, it depends on the guitar you're installing it into as well. Because although you hear the pickup but not the guitar will influence the sound of the pickup, of course. A Dreadnought versus a small body guitar, the Dreadnought will have more low end in the pickup because there's more low end in the source. So I don't know, but I mean that'd be a great affordable option for $50 for the pickup and $50 or $60 for the preamp. That's good. You're just going to have to try it, I think. You know, I'm not a huge fan of these kind of pickup systems. I'm just not. I'm probably the wrong person to ask. I just find these kind of systems need so much work to make them work. And I would generally pair a much more expensive preamp with something like this and a ton of EQ options just to make it sound workable to me in the room. It's why I tend to go towards systems that I like the sound of the system, like the Anthem first of all, or the Fishman Soundhole with the mic, or the Cole Clark, or the Maton. So, you know, something that's already sounding. Again, talk about the source or the destination. The source is so important. For me, this is not a good source. This is a good source based on the price, and this is a good source based on the fact there's nothing in your guitar. If you want to keep the weight of the guitar down and this kind of stuff, not mess around with your guitar too much. But I have made these kind of pickups like the K&K sound great, but I've had to run them through a $300 pedal like the Baggs VoicePrint DI. So, I mean, certainly try it if you want to and let me know how it works out. But I don't think based on my experience, I don't think I would be happy with this through the Sonic 8. But that doesn't mean that you won't be. So if you do try it, let me know. Lee, how you doing? Good to see you. Hi from Nola. Gary, did you see the bag? I put a link there. I tested it. It should work. Smash the like. Give a thumbs up. That's right. Please do. If you X out of chat, find the thumbs up icon that says 10 next to it, because I've had 10 so far. Then click on that, and that will give me a like on YouTube. It all helps. Michael came to see me last night. Said, great show in real life. Thank you, Michael. He liked the sound of the Cole Clark. I was playing the Angel 3. I thought it sounded good too. I did some EQ to it to improve the sound. And I definitely want to talk about that in the future, how to really EQ a guitar, to really clean up some of those weird frequencies. I don't think a lot of people bother. I'm actually scared to do it because I'm scared that I'm scared to make people aware of things that they weren't aware of. I'm scared of ruining people's guitars by saying, like, if you listen at 2K, you'll hear this sound. Here it is in isolation. Do you hear that sound? And then they go away and hear it. Now, I guess I'm thinking about this wrong, because if we do hear these things, then we can improve our sound and make our sound better. But there is always a part of me that doesn't want to tell people there's these weird sounds and how to get rid of them. Because if you were okay with it in the first place, who am I to bring it to your attention? On the other hand, why would you be watching my channel if you weren't that fussy about this stuff, right? So maybe I should just do it. Ronnie says, hi, thanks for helping us all out here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, Ronnie. I'm having a good time. I just made my first video for Martin. If you didn't watch it, please do. It's about the new X series revision, which I really think is very cool. I won't tell you everything I say in the video. Please watch the video. It will help me out as well. Appreciate it. Oh dear, Lee has done it. He's bought the SKB 3i421718 case to fly with his D42. Lee's bringing the D42 to America. He's taking it home to the Martin factory. So my prayers are with you, Lee. I'm kidding. It's fine. You know, when I flew with the Cole Clark, it was fine. The case is just a soft material, so it got some dents and dings in the case. I was wondering why no one has invented like a sleeve to put over your guitar case to protect the case, like a padded bag that fits in the guitar case. And then when you get to security, you take the bag out and you wrap it all around the guitar, and it's like padded inside. So if they knock it against something, your case doesn't get scratched. Some people don't care about this stuff, but some people do. So, especially with a case like the Cole Clark, which is kind of soft anyway. But let's look this up. SKB 3i 421718. I saw some cases last week that cost $1,000, so it costs as much as a guitar. Wow, that's serious. So this isn't even a guitar-shaped case. This is more like a flight case. This is a real flight case. Wow, let me see if I got the right one. Yeah. Oh, no, this is the 30. You've got the 18. Let's see if they have that one. Wow. This is serious kit. Let's have a look at this. I mean, you should be fine with this. I can't wait to hear about traveling with this case. I mean, you should be good, right? I guess you've still got the guitar in there. You don't want it to take any kind of impact. That's the only thing. I think you'll be fine. I mean, you're taking one international flight, and it can be checked, right? Like when I flew to California, I took 2 planes. That was a mistake because I had to deal with the guitar twice. I think this is the way to do it. Check it, one flight, you should be good. Checking it on the plane and doing that twice through, I think that was kind of a drag in hindsight. Yeah, this is the real deal, isn't it? Look at this. Wow. And it's got wheels as well. What does it weigh? Here's me talking about looking for a cheap bag that weighs 2.5 pounds. And Lee's bought himself a flight case that weighs 23.5 pounds. But there you go. It's the right tool for the job, isn't it? He's traveling internationally with a heirloom instrument. And he wants the most protection he can get. Well, that's great. All right, congrats. And it'll be really nice. I always say to Martin, it must be nice to buy a guitar from the factory because they've made it and you're taking it home. And that's the same thing taking the guitar back there. You know, you've got your guitar and you're taking it back to where it was made. It's nice. I think the guitar will appreciate it. Gary says, I keep a master list handy on my iPad. Sometimes I forget to play some songs because they aren't top of my mind. Yes. The list gives a quick menu to choose from. So I use OnSong. The OnSong app. Let's see if you can see it. So basically, when I pull down and click on songs, it gives me alphabetically my list of songs. Now, what I can do, see if I can make it focus. I can very easily make a set list from this, which is cool. So I can make a set list. But I just have the entire list. That is my set list, basically, the whole list here, right? And I'll just go, right, okay, first song's going to be Layla. So I'll click on Layla. It gives me the lyrics. I don't have chords. I remember the chords. If it's a new song that I'm learning and it's got a lot of chords, I'll put the chords in as well. But when I know the chords, I just need the lyrics. I just have the lyrics. And then what I'll do is I'll make a loop at the end of the song. So I'm jamming over it, and then the loop is playing. While the loop is playing, I'll just swipe down, click on songs, and choose my next song. So I've usually got an idea. Like it might be something like Upside Down, another kind of medium speed song. There we go. Upside Down comes up, and I do Upside Down. So that's how I do it. So yes, in between songs, I am playing with the phone. It's not ideal. If you make a set list, you can then use a Bluetooth pedal to just go to the next song. That's a lot more efficient. But I'm talking about 4-hour gigs where you just got to constantly be playing different songs. You know, it's a different kind of gig. And like Gary says, it's good to have the list because sometimes you forget that you do a song. Well, same with this. Like I might scroll up to A and see Ain't No Sunshine and think, oh, I'm going to do that tonight. So that acts as my list. So if you don't have OnSong and you've got an iPhone, you must get it. It's great. After all these expensive guitars, I prefer the feel and body of the body and neck. Any sub $1,000 amp these days should amplify that guitar just fine. I don't know. I mean, I like the Mesa amps because they got three channels. You never get a 3-channel amp like the Mesa with reverb for less than $1,000. But I think for most people, you're better. Honestly, I really think these days you're better off buying something like the Quad Cortex. Like the Quad Cortex through the Fender FR12 that I have just sounds great. And I can't see a reason to take the £50 Mesa amp to a bar gig when I can take the £5 Quad Cortex and the £25 FR12 amp. It's way more versatile. It's way lighter. It's way easier to replace it if it gets damaged. You know, everything's in there, ready to go. Don't need other pedals with it. Ronnie says, I have a question about the Headrush Prime and am a new owner and still trying to get this thing up for gig ready, just using the modulation effects for an acoustic and singing set. Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, I didn't really like it. I don't want to say that, but it's the truth. Well, I don't know why I'm laughing. I apologize. I used it when it first came out. I haven't used the latest firmware. And if you just want basic effects, I think it'll be fine. So yeah, if you want to have a reverb on the guitar and voice, so you can make 2 lanes, right? 2 paths. And then the top path can be for your voice and the bottom one for your guitar. So you can have reverb on them. You can have delay on them. You can use the looper. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. But I still, if you watch the channel, I'm really big into the TC Helicon pedals. I like the Quad Cortex for electric. They've just announced version 3.0, which is adding some vocal stuff, but not harmonies. The Headrush Prime has harmonies, but I didn't like them as much. Well, I didn't like them as much as the TC Helicon. So, what is your question exactly? I probably can help you. I can help you because if you want to add modulation effects only, then that will work fine. So what you want to do is go to the preset, make a new preset, select guitar and voice, so you have the two inputs on their own lane each. Plug your mic into the mic one, plug your guitar into guitar one, add the blocks that you need, and that will generally it will be for voice, an EQ block, and then a delay block, and then a reverb block, and then an EQ block. And for guitar, same thing again. Maybe compression. Maybe, I don't like it, but maybe you want compression first. And then delay, reverb, an EQ, and at the end there, a volume boost that you would use, like a clean gain boost or an EQ boost that you would use to boost the level when you take a solo, and then the looper at the end, so you can use looper. That will work fine. That will work fine. I like to use in-ears with a click track. I like to use harmony effects, and for that, I much prefer the TC Helicon. But the Headrush has a way better interface and screen than the TC Helicon. I will say that. Whether you need that at a gig, I don't know, but it does have it. And I'm just hoping all the time that Quad Cortex will add these things so I can switch over to that. But there's so much these pedals need to add to be where the Voice Live 3 Extreme is at. You know, I use MIDI to send the tempo to the pedal, and then that gives me a click track in my in-ears. And then I use the harmonies, and the harmonies can follow the looped chords. All this like little stuff that the other ones don't come even close to doing, and they still haven't done it yet. It's one of my big bugbears with all this gear stuff. I feel like the gear is taking a step backwards and not a step forwards in general. But let me know if you've got any specific questions about the effects or the EQ, Ronnie, because like I said, I've only used that for one video. I sent it back, but these things all work the same. They have the way the EQ works on the Helix is the same the EQ works on the Headrush, etc. Back to back country, good to see you again. You see that there is something about that. I don't believe, like, sometimes you're in Guitar Center and they'll say you've got to use Martin strings on Martin guitars. That is not true. You know, Martin strings are Martin strings, and Elixir strings, and D'Addario strings. And sometimes these strings are made by the same companies anyway. But having said that, I do agree. I have found that the Martin lifespan strings do sound good on Martins. But just to be clear, I don't believe that you should buy this. You know, you shouldn't have to buy Taylor strings for a Taylor or Martin strings for a Martin. That's just not the case. But Martin strings do happen to work well with Martin guitars, in my opinion. And then so do the XS. But there was just one guitar I felt they didn't take the XS very well. Having said that, all the other guitars, the Rain Song, the Maton, the Cole Clark, they've all got the XS and they all sound great. Gary uses them too. I get a solid 6 to 8 weeks with XS string. So what happens after 8 weeks with XS strings, Gary? Do they lose their tone? Do they break? Because I felt I could get even longer with them. I just had one break around 8 to 12 weeks, but not all the time. Just a couple of times that happened. I really feel like on a good set, I could get maybe 4 months out of those things. I just don't want to risk it, you know. Great tip as well. I stock up on the XS strings with a few sets when they go on sale at 25% off. They are well sealed. Yeah, I do that too. Like around the holidays when you get these 20, oh, he says 25%. I usually see 20% maximum, but even 15%. Anytime there's a great deal, which he's saying 25% off, which is a great deal. then you should buy a bunch of them. Just try them first. Make sure you like them, because I've done what Gary is suggesting with some brands and then decided I don't like them anymore, and I'm stuck with hundreds of sets of strings. So do try them first, and then if you use them all the time and you like them, then order in bulk. You can also buy them in bulk, by the way, which is a good tip too, especially if you can get a deal on them as well. So they do these bulk sets. Check this out. Look at this. $312. But you get 25 sets. Who's going to do the math for me? I'll use my phone. Hang on. Remember, this is plus tax in America as well. So 312, let's say, divided by 25. $12.50 a set, $12.48. One set of those is 20. So the real tip, I would say, is finding those bulk sets in the holidays when they're 15 to 25% off. That's a good deal. Because imagine if you can get that bulk set, let's say, there's often sales for 15% off. If you get the bulk set at $12.48, $12.50 minus 15%. You could get them for 10, so basically half price. Yeah, if you can get a 15% discount on the bulk set, you can get them at $10 a set, half price, or just over $10 a set, 10.6. So that would be smart. That's a good deal. Some people don't want to deal with this, though. Some people just want the individual sets. You get them like this in a tube. Some people don't want to deal with that. Okay. Well, like this, look. I get it. It's nice to have them wrapped. When you buy the single set, they're wrapped in pairs. That's a lot easier to deal with than this. But if you really want to save money, that's how you do it. So you put your pedals in the bag, too. So I only have the Voice Live 3 Extreme in the computer laptop section, and I have the Switch 3, which is actually pretty heavy. That's adding a lot of weight to the bag. But that just goes in the main compartment on top of the cables. That's fine. Ronnie says, is it possible to change modulations for acoustic guitar and use looper mid-song? Yeah. If you have like a chorus and a reverb while you're playing, you can turn off the chorus, you can turn off the reverb. And the looper, you put at the end of the chain, and then that's recording whatever sound is going into it. So if your reverb is on, it will record it with a reverb. And if reverb is off, it will record it without the reverb. And that's what you'll hear. So the looper will be at the end of the chain, and whatever the looper hears is recorded and baked into that sound. If you put a looper at the start of the signal, which you can do on some of these units, then it won't record those sounds. It'll only ever play back your clean sound into whatever's on at the time. That's not the way most loopers work. When I say loopers, I mean people that loop. Suddenly, everyone's talking about looping. Since those Ed Sheeran pedals were announced, everyone's talking about looping now. So that did a good thing for the looper community. But yeah, when the looper's at the end of the signal, it will basically loop whatever it hears, and it will stay that way, which is what you want 90% of the time. Thanks. You're welcome. That's the case I have, says James. Which case? The bag or the guitar case? Oh, the guitar case. Serious money, yeah. And it completely goes against what I was just talking about with the weight thing, right? Because that weighs more than my whole bag does combined. But when you're flying, like you look at the bands that fly with their amps and things. Oh. When you're flying with your band internationally, you see these bands have these massive flight cases. That's why. They want to protect the equipment. I got some echo there. Michael says, I put drinking songs near a break. because it pushes drinks and encourages people to buy more and stay longer for next set. That's a great idea. So put a song about drinking as your last song so it makes them want to go and buy a drink. I guess actually finishing the set with Take Me Home Country Roads is a terrible idea. I think you've just saved my career, Michael. Because I've been ending my first set with Take Me Home Country Roads to the place I belong. Take me home, country roads. Now, granted, I'm playing that in a city where there are no country roads, but the very message of that song is to go home. Wow. So I'm going to scrap that tomorrow. I'm going to replace that song with The Wild Rover or The Piano Man, something about drinking and staying. It'd be really funny if that worked. Imagine if I do that and that one change of the song completely changes the amount of people at all my shows going forward because I was sending them home early. That's funny. I never thought about that. That's great. That's a good point. Lee says, James, how do you like the case? Let him know. We know good starting songs, mid-set songs, and closing songs. The staff can get bored, but they're also serving the same food and drink every day too. We can and should switch things up for sure. I definitely think so. If I had my way, I'd add one new song per week. I think we should be aiming for that. I really do. Just to grow as a musician, to keep things fresh for us, the audience, and the people that work at the places. And also switching up the order of the songs, sometimes not playing certain songs. I think it's really important, especially when you're playing as a profession. The classics are the classics for a reason. Yeah, they are, but there's a lot of classic songs. We don't need to do Sweet Caroline every time. We don't need to do Sweet Alabama every time. We don't need to do Country Roads every time. Although Country Roads does work really well. Country Roads is a great closing song. Take Me Home, Country Roads. There we go. I hadn't put much thought into the psychology of this before, but it makes a lot of sense. Brian says they do make case covers. Can you put a link in the chat? Because I couldn't find one when I was looking for them. And James says it's interesting that the foam core is not glued to the shell. That's the case they've bought. So why would that be? So this insert here is not glued in. Maybe so you can replace it? I have no idea. I'm not an expert on flight cases at all. If I was touring the world with my guitar collection, I definitely want something like this, or even something metal, something stronger than this, if I was flying all the time. Because it's got to help, right? It's got to help. But yeah, you see those. I don't want to talk about that because again I'll scare Lee. But you see those scary pictures of the broken guitars, and no, I guess I've just done it. Sorry, buddy, but you do. Flying is such a gamble because you can take it in a soft case and they can let you put it in a closet. That's the best thing. But what if they don't? What if they force you to check it? So I think you're doing the right thing by checking it in this case. I think a much better idea would have been to not bring a guitar and just buy a new D42 in America. But that's just my opinion. Great question from I always want to call you BMO, but Boomer. Great question. Would you recommend adding a plec to the Martin you just reviewed? No, I read that they are plecked, which is I didn't mention in the video. It's great. I'm going to show you this on this site. I was thinking I'd want a standard series because they're plecked, or I might want to get it plecked. But on the Martin website, it says it's plecked. Is that right? I didn't know they were doing that. Maybe that's a mistake. Let's investigate this together. So, thank you for the likes, by the way. 14 likes. That's awesome. Appreciate it. I appreciate you all being here too. And watching the videos. Yeah, a few things I didn't mention in that video last week. Please do watch it if you haven't, and please do share it, because I'm going to reach out to Martin and see if we can do some more videos. So obviously, numbers all matter with that stuff. I'd appreciate your help with that. Sweetwater, again, great place to buy from. Look, they all look very different on the tops and pick guards and necks. They all look very different on the backs. That is by design. This one here is similar to the one that they lent me for the review. I like that a lot. I don't like these other ones as much. They're not for me. And let me know in the chat if you agree with me. I think they're too much. These are taken from real pieces of wood. These are not, you know, these are not made up. These are photographs of real wood on these Martin X series guitars. But I just think the more subtle one is the way to go. It's also a light, £4 6 ounces is great. And I've said before that Sweetwater will try to push the Plek thing on everything that you look at. Actually, I don't see it right now, but they do tend to say, hey, you can Plek this as well. And I don't like when they do that on the Martins, because the Martins are already Plecked. Not that you shouldn't Plek a guitar twice, by the way, because maybe you want to change the gauge of the strings and have it replecked. I don't think it's not a total waste of money, but generally you shouldn't need it. So yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I looked at these on the Martin website, it said that they were Plecked. That impressed me even more, because a Plek is a few $100s. So there you go. That's an even greater value. Let me know if that's true. That's what I read, so I'm sticking with it. But I'm very impressed with this. The particular one I got, I really liked. If I was looking for an alternative to like get a carbon guitar, something sturdy, I'd get one of these for sure. And again, please do watch the video if you haven't. But yeah, let me know if I'm wrong about that. I went to Martin and it said these are. I still can't believe it, because if they really are, and actually I do believe it, because they played so well. That guitar played so well that I definitely do believe it. I'm gonna have a quick look here while I'm talking to you to see if that is what it said. I've already found it. Look, let's check this out. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Desktop. So look, I went here, load more. This is definitely the one. See, it's got that abalone rosette thing. And look, true, Plecked, amazing. I really should have made a big deal about that. I did make a big deal about playability. That thing plays great. Like really low action. The neck isn't too big, it's not too small. If I was a beginner guitarist and I had the 800 for that guitar, I would definitely buy it, because that's the guitar to learn on. Imagine a guitar that is durable, you can take around with you in the gig bag, you've got a tuner in there at all times to tune your guitar, it's been Plecked, it plays well, it's got low action, great. You know, that's they really nailed it with those guitars. I really do believe that. The tuner is so accurate as well. So is it for me? Probably not. I'd probably want to take out the pickup, put an Anthem in there. I probably wouldn't gig up myself as such, but if you want something you can leave out on the wall, travel with, have as a backup, great. If you're learning and you get something like this, you're laughing, because if I could have learned on a guitar like this, I'd have been very, very, very happy. Very happy. So yeah, if that really is Plecked, like it says on the Martin website, which I imagine is the correct information, that's incredible. So good job, Martin. Gary changes strings when he feels the grooves. Okay. There we go. You see, I have 30 to 40 sets of strings I no longer use. That would be a fun poll question. Yeah, I do too. I have a whole box. I could go and grab it. You'd have a good laugh at my expense. I've probably got 100 sets of strings that I don't use. Oh dear. I replace strings that I start to feel more significant divots under the strings where they touch the frets. I don't really get that. I don't get a problem with the sound either. I just, with some brands like the Elixirs, you see them really visually fading. I don't get that with XS. I think XS are amazing, but I did break one a couple of times. It may have been a coincidence, but I just think they last really well, but they still wear out, of course. And then that's why I now change once a month. I just don't want to have to think about it. Brian says, don't usually use set lists, but I found it very useful to have about 20 set lists on the iPad for weddings, funerals, anniversaries, and most important songs I can sing when I have a cold. Yeah. Good to have them in preparation for sure. Mark Smith says, sorry I'm late. I've been practicing. No problem. I'm still developing my saxophone solo act. Are you nearly finished? No, I'm good. Feel free to ask a question. I have I'm just working on videos right now, so I have no plans for this evening. Just getting videos done that I owe people. Lee says, I'll cross my fingers and hope. I'll cross them too, Lee. I think you'll be fine. You know, you hear those occasional horror stories, but they're very rare, and then everyone freaks out about it. But people fly with guitars every single day. Think of the people that are on the road flying with their guitar. You know, like everything else, you don't hear the good stories, do you? You pay extra for a long bag with that case. So you can get a bag for it as well? I didn't know that. There we go, you see? Plek job for an $800 USD guitar. Incredible. I think it is. I didn't know they had a Plek machine in the Navajo factory. But I'm telling you, it plays really easily. It plays great. So I guess it is Pleked. Because not that you need a Plek to make a guitar play great. That's not true either. Some guitars don't need a Plek at all, to be fair. Some guitars don't benefit from a Plek. But the fact that they're building those guitars so consistently with the Plek machine and achieving the low action, and the sound was good too. There was some of the high end Martins drive me nuts with the frequencies that jump out. There was none of that. Just a very even, satisfying tone. So yeah, that's why I say it's great. Neck feels good. The weakest point of that guitar is the pickup system, but you can't expect a $300 pickup system in an $800 guitar. And also, you've also got to think, sometimes I'm very hard on myself to think that way, but do remember that, like, they just made a limited edition Ed Sheeran Loudon guitar for $6,000. And that has the Baggs Element, which is a similar pickup. I'm not going to say it's better or worse or whatever, but it's a similar pickup system to what they're shipping in the GPC X2E, and it has no tuner. And so sometimes I don't want to say on the video the pickup isn't the best in the world. I feel like I'm being negative, but I'm really not. It's just reality. You're not going to get an $800 guitar with a state-of-the-art pickup system in it. It's not going to work. It's not business, right? Having said that, some of these guitars that cost 10 times the price are shipping with the similar style pickup system. So who am I to even say that that's a bad thing? But the great thing with these new guitars that only have these minimal installs in them, like this one, the GPC X2E, is that it's very easy to remove the existing system and put in something else like an Anthem SL, a K&K, a Fishman, and also to wire that into the existing battery compartment that's already in the guitar. So there you go. Would the D42 be difficult for international travel from a CITES treaty regulation point of view? CITES is over now. You can't fly with Brazilian rosewood from America. Like, if you buy a Brazilian rosewood Fender now, it's stamped on the back, USA only. But I think CITES now is much relaxed. But yeah, I don't think Lee's is Brazilian. So... But always check all that stuff out before you get to the airport, of course. Boomer said maybe pin a comment to the video. Actually, if that really is Plek, it's worth putting that on the thumbnail, isn't it? You know, it's a big deal. I'm currently considering like having my Cole Clark refretted and Pleked, and that would be $800 for all that. So as much as the brand new GPC X2E. So there is a value there. That hasn't got stainless steel frets, but it's got new frets because it's a new guitar. Ronnie says, my specific question earlier was, can the foot switches be used on the fly to change modulation for acoustic and mic? Yes. Just assign the foot switch to that block. So when you press it, it turns that on and off. Good question from S. Thoughts on the Super D? Yeah, I played a couple and I just didn't like them at all. I'm sad to say. When I heard about that, remember that was leaked? We had a guest on years ago that mentioned the Super D on the channel. And then they came out and I thought it's a cool idea. Well, no, the first thing I thought was, we have a Dreadnought. Do you really need a guitar bigger than a Dreadnought? That was my first thought. And I thought, well, if it is indeed louder and bigger and louder, then that's good. Because I like guitars I tend to like louder guitars. Some people want a guitar just to be really loud to play at an open mic, a jam session acoustically. But I played one at Rudy's Music and it just felt so big and awkward. And I played one at a guitar store in Jersey and it was really quiet. It was absolutely bizarre. So then they announced they discontinued them, and I wasn't surprised. I'm thinking, well, who buys these, right? If they're not doing what I expect them to do, so why would you buy one? But now I've heard now that they're no longer discontinued, so I don't know what's going on. But I really wanted to like them. The two I played, I really wanted to like. What I wanted was, yes, it's going to feel bigger and more uncomfortable, but if it's loud and proud, like bass and this amazing sound that you can't get from any other guitar, then great, but I didn't. The second one I tried was really quiet. That was completely bizarre. Now, of course, I'm basing that on two guitars, and I always say to everyone now, every time I speak to anyone, I say, look, all guitars sound different. You have to play them all. There may well be a Super Dread out there that sounds incredible, so don't just dismiss them all based on my two experiences. You cannot do that. I proved that when I did the M36 video and played two M30. They sounded completely different. It was crazy. So that's why it's very important to buy from a place with a good return policy. You need to play that guitar yourself. With Thomas Stick Infeld flat wound sets I use, I often just change the top three thinner strings. The larger strings last long. Interesting. I wouldn't even think I would always change them all, but hey, whatever works for you. That's the thing. Strings are hard to talk about because we all have different needs. We all play different amounts of time. Some of us are gigging every night. Some of us are gigging twice a week. Some of us are playing at home. Some of us have oily skin that kills strings. Some of us don't. Some of us play fingerstyle only ballads. Some of us play heavy metal with a thick pick. You really have, there is no answer really. You have to find what works for you. But I definitely recommend the XS. If you haven't tried XS D'Addarios yet, do try a set because I'm very happy with them. All right, good stuff. So, like I said, I'm going to drop a link now to last week's video. You can help me out if you haven't watched that by watching it. I'd really, really, really appreciate it. And I'll be working on more videos this week. I'm not going to say what I said before. I'm not going to say what they are anymore in case things don't work out or things change or whatever. And also, whenever I say I'm going to make a video, I tend to not make it. So, having said that, there is stuff coming. So please, if you're new here, subscribe and ring the bell. Just do some housekeeping here. Subscribe. Make sure the bell is rung so it notifies you when I go live or post a video. I'm going to share this video in the chat right now. If you haven't watched it, please do. It's at 599 views. So help me get it over 600 views, please. That would be awesome. So as you leave here, feel free to click on that. There we go. I just posted it in the chat right there. Please do watch that on your way out. I'd appreciate it. If you're new here, subscribe and ring the bell. I'd appreciate that too. Next week, the clocks may be changing in the UK. Do bear that in mind. It's also April Fool's Day, but it's no joke. I will be here at the regular time. But do check the time where you are internationally because these clocks keep changing and confusing everyone. Got some more questions coming. I'm going to keep going a little bit longer. But like I said, please do click on that link, even if you do it now. and save it in your and give it a like. Please do that. All right, Old Metal Dude, thank you for your advice on the FG3. We were looking at last week's show. I got the lightest one. Oh, you bought it. 4.2 pounds. Sounds amazing and resonates very, very loud. Great. Yeah, I keep hearing about. I've said it before. I bought one of those when they first came out. I praised them. They were well received, but it really took a few years for them to really get taken on seriously, and now everyone's buying them, and for good reason. I mean, I'll show you all again in case you don't know what we're talking about. The Yamaha FG3, great guitar. So if we jump over to Sweetwater again. Look. $880 for this guitar. They're great guitars. So I mentioned in the Martin video that there's other guitars under I was actually referencing this guitar. I wasn't going to talk about other brands in the video that I'm doing about a Martin guitar, but this was, just so you know, if you're watching the live stream, this is the guitar I was talking about when I said there's many other guitars under $1,000 that you should check out. Well, this is really the one. There's some other ones too, but this is the one that I had in mind as I was saying that very statement. The thing is that it is $80 more. It's a completely different body shape to the Martin. It hasn't got a cutaway, and this one hasn't got the pickup system. So that's why I didn't make a big deal about that in the video. Yes, there are other guitars you should consider in under $1,000, but there's not many that directly compete with the GPC X2E that I reviewed. Not really. This is worth considering as a guitar, but it's very different spec. It's mahogany. There's no pickup. There's no cutaway. It's a Dreadnought. It's not the GPC. So it's a very different guitar. But yes, if you're going to spend $1,000, this should be on your list as well. And then you can get the one with the very excellent pickup system that then puts you over $1,000. But with this guitar, you can go out and gig and sound great. So here you go. Look, add Plec Pro for $300 if you want to. So have they taken that off the Martins now? Let's just see. Because I made a comment about it, and then I saw someone on Facebook talking about this. No, they still have it. Look, I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I just be careful when you buy something that's already plecked. Make sure you're plecking it again for a reason, or don't pleck it again at all. But it's not a con as such. You know, it's yes, this guitar has been plecked, and to have it plecked again might make it better, might make it worse. But if you're going to change the gauge of string, say you're going to go from 13s to 10s, then the plec may do something noticeable. So just bear that in mind. It's a bit like buying a brand new guitar you haven't played before and paying it to be plecked. You may I've often thought I'll buy a Strat and have it plecked out of the box. And I did do that on one guitar that I haven't got around to making a video about yet. But I've also bought another Strat since then that I didn't have plecked that plays great. So some of this stuff is very, very subjective stuff. Just bear that in mind if you're buying a guitar. Do you prefer K&K Trinity or Baggs Anthem? Anthem 100%. The Trinity sounds way more natural. The Trinity sounds amazing, but it's so hard to not get feedback from it. And the microphone is in the sound hole. It fell out of mine. Where the Anthem, nothing fell out. Sounds great. No feedback. Great sound. Very different systems. The Trinity is way more accurate, natural. The Anthem is way more usable. And to throw a curveball in there, the new Baggs Hi-Fi Duet that's coming out in 2 or 3 months' time may be the best of both. So I might wait until then. Those frequencies you were talking about mainly come from a worn or badly shaped saddle or nut. Maybe. The D string on any guitar has these frequencies that are annoying, and some guitars make them louder than others. So on my OM28 Engelmann, I don't hear them. They don't bother me at all. On the OM42, it drives me nuts. So I've thought about having a new saddle and nut installed to see if it fixes it, or not. It won't fix it. It will reduce it, but it might also just be in the guitar. So when I plug in the Cole Clark, that has it too, pretty bad. I just EQ it out of the live sound, and it really helps. But you can't EQ an acoustic guitar. But what impressed me so much with the GPC X2E is that it didn't have any of those. It was very, very neutral sounding. I like that. So I'm still trying to figure out what causes some of those harsh frequencies, but I also hear them on electric guitars. Like on an electric guitar, you can hear that D, that 2K, you hear it. So I just think some guitars just bring those out more than others, and I think that's why it's so important to make sure you have some kind of return policy when you buy a guitar. Rosanna's laughing about April the 1st. That wasn't even a good joke. Clocks go forward on Sunday early morning in the UK. Okay, so don't let that mess. What does that mean? Does that mean next Monday some of you might be super early, right? Because 2 weeks ago, some of you were late because the clocks in America changed and not in England. So if they change in England, does that mean that you're going to be early, potentially? That's not a bad thing. And eat Easter eggs, yes. The Yamaha is not plecked, but pleck is not the be and end all. The Yamahas that I played great. So I don't think it's worth overthinking that pleck thing. And there's also pleck and pleck, right? Someone can do a quick pleck job on a guitar just to get it out of the factory, and someone can sit there with your guitar and pleck it and really go over it in more detail. I know it's all computerized, but it's still done by the operator. So the operator of the machine is still important, still a factor. Yeah, it's really tough. I need to make that video. I have a Strat that not sure if I'm going to keep it or not, but I had it plecked, but I never played it when it wasn't plecked. And I also have a Strat that was never plecked. But it's so hard. I don't know. The thing is, the pleck includes the setup. So for the $300, you get the setup. That's good because a setup in New York is around 150 or 75 to 150, depending where you go anyway. So for $300 for a pleck and a setup, as long as it's done well, I think that's not bad value, in my opinion. Easter eggs and roast lamb. Thank you for my birthday card. Happy birthday to Rosanna. Now they're talking about legs of lamb, so time to move on. I own the FGX5. Definitely doesn't need a pleck job, right? But you know, some do. This is such a grey area. Some guitars that are 10 grand might benefit from a pleck. Some guitars that are $100 might not benefit from a pleck. It's just a tool. It's just another tool. But it is nice to know it's been done. It's nice to know the frets are level, and that's why I'm glad that Martin do use one. You know, the Cole Clark is plecked, but I need the saddle lowered. So it's plecked, but it doesn't mean it plays great. The saddle's too high. So, you know, just bear that in mind. It's a factor of everything, not just one thing. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. It's been an hour and a half. Once again, check out my Martin GPC X2E video. I just posted the link in the chat. Please do click on that right now on the way out. And please join me again next week at the same time, 4 p.m. EST. Remember, your clocks are changing, so bear that in mind as well. Just see if I hit 600. I still haven't hit 600 people. I need your help. I'm going to post it one more time. Maybe you've all watched the video already. Maybe you haven't. But as I say goodbye, please do click on this link. I'll do it right now as I say good night. Thanks for the moderators. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your great questions. And you got me thinking. That was a great question we had at the start about the amp or the guitar. It does bleed into all this gear stuff, doesn't it? It's a good thing to have a think about this week. All right, there's the video. Please click that link. I will see you again next week. Have a great week and see you next Monday, 4 p.m. EST. I'll have some videos up during the week. Please watch them, share them, and take care and be well. Enjoy your guitars, and I'll talk to you soon.
said to me, I need to get away from you. And as I watched her lying next to me, I wished for a holiday too.